is the 14th of June and it's time for yet another not particularly interesting, very vague and probably quite boring vlog. Today's video is a little bit different in that there's actually three distinct components to it. The first two components you'll see are what I would call an abandoned Shambolic shuffle with a little bit of a bonus added to it. Because when I went last night to the Loxley Classic Car Club's bi-monthly gathering, there were so few cars there that I literally have 4 minutes of footage. But then when I went on the same evening to the Portal section of Volvo Owners Club monthly event, that actually had some interesting Volvos in it, so I decided to add a little bit of footage onto it. And then we're going back to talk about something that happened this week when I was sourcing cars for a client. So let's go now to last night, or at the time of recording last night, and look at what happened at Loxley Classic Car Club. Well, viewers, you thought that slightly Shambolic shuffle from North Battersea the other day was short. This is going to be even shorter. So here we are at Heath. It's the 30th of June, and because of the weather, because it's one of the evening meetings, there's hardly anything here. I'm pleased to say though that we have booked a date in to drive this, I think it's a 93 this one, Mazda 121, which is part of Jim's collection. We'll see one of the other cars Jim has actually here today as well. His daughter's driven this, she's just learning to drive in it, and it's a very suitable car to learn to drive in. I mean, these are almost non-existent in this country. This one lived literally up the road from where our house is for quite a number of years. It's a locally supplied car as well from Hilton Mazda, whom I bought a car from in 2002 actually. That is now a hand car wash. So yeah, we've got a couple of other things here as well. I'm just sort of hiding in here amongst other stuff, but you know, I should really not be in this car to this event, but at some point when that suddenly's got a new engine in it, we'll bring it. Someone's actually bought this Celica, but I saw the lady earlier on and she's just come to the shops in it, which is nice. It's so nice to come to shops in a Mark 6 Celica. Or this Subaru Impreza. We've seen this before. It's a first generation one. I think this has been sort of modified in some way. It's a sort of classic colour scheme for what these came in, with the sort of blue and the gold wheels. I think it is also a UK spec car, it'll be about 98, 99. Celica, yeah, well it's 51, so it'll be 2001 to 2002. I have actually driven this MGB. It is a V8, but it's not a factory V8. It's too early for that. It's actually a 72, this one. And it is ballistic. It's got a 4.6 litre V8 in it. It's been polybushed. It's been all sorts of things. It's one of the hardest cars I've ever driven in my entire life. But it was kind of fun in a sort of masochistic sort of way. Ooh, very nice. I think this is a DB11, isn't it? This one, with you know, many zeros on the number plate, because we don't, you know, want to get sued by a certain film company. We've got to be a bit careful. Pick up Pete, the Mini is here. Have we had any more work done to this recently? We'll have a look. Oh yes, we have. That's been all addressed, because it's like the Forth Bridge, isn't it, on one of these Minis? Like you start kind of redoing them, repainting them and things, and by the time you come round and finished it, you've got to start again. So that's a lot tidier than it used to be. Very late one, sort of 81, 82. They were discontinued in 1982. And this is a new thing here. The gentleman just actually bought this. It's a 1964 MG Midget, and it is a garage find, quite literally. The next door neighbour had this, and it's sat in the garage for about 25 years. It's going to be a restoration project, this one. It does need a full respray. It needs you know, work done on it in terms of the rust and stuff. The engine, apparently, it's a 1.1 engine in this. It's not the 1275, it's the 1098. And apparently the engine's not too bad, which is good. So at some point, you know, this will be done. Apparently these Austin Healey hubcaps were sort of factory equipment. They didn't do them for the midgets at the time, which is really strange. I don't understand what that would be, but yeah, it's a kind of little thing we like to see. And we've got this bike here as well. And I don't even know what this actually is. Is it like a Soviet era bike or something? I wouldn't really know myself. It's on the B plate. Right, anyway, that is enough for today. We'll go back to the main video. I thought we were going to go back to the main part of the video now, but actually we're not, because I've just turned up at the Volvo Owners Club meeting. This is a place called Southwick, it's near Portsmouth, and this is a Portsmouth section meeting of the Volvo Owners Club. I thought some of you might like to see the kind of cars that people come in on a rainy day. We'd probably get a lot more cars, the weather was better to be honest, but there we go. First of all, we've got this facelifted 145, I think it's a 72, this one. Straight away you can tell it's a facelift one by these Volvo 240 style door handles. The early ones didn't have that. The grille's different as well. Chap in the club as well has got a pre-facelift 144 that looks a bit different from this, but as you can see they are related to the 240 which came out in 1974, and they had the overhead cam versions of these red block engines in them. Next we've got facelifted 850. I think this is a 2.5. I mean they're actually 2435cc engines, but until the midway through the P1 S70 and V70 they were badged as 2.5s, not 2.4s. This is rather a late one actually. They finished production late 96 or 97, and this is a 96-97 one. I think it's just an SE actually this, but 2.5 white block engines are really good. I imagine this would be the 170 horsepower. They also made a 140 and both of them are very good. A lot of them we can't talk about around here. This is a really late V40. It's the T2R design. A friend of mine owns this and it's really nice. The only problem is with these is that they're just very dark inside. I recently drove a V40 of this shape. It was a pre-facelift one, and they're just a little bit on the dark side in the interior, which is the main sort of issue. Apart from that, they're not bad actually. So this is just new this evening. I've never seen this car before. It's a 940. I've driven tons of 940s on the channel, as you know, viewers. I think I've driven 4. This is, I think, just before they sort of finally facelifted them. I think 1995 was the last time I facelifted them. This has got the later 5-speed manual in it. The earlier ones have a different sort of gear pattern. I do very much like the 940s. They are just superb cars. They're sort of like a bit of a relic actually by this stage in the mid-90s, a big sort of rear-wheel drive car with a platform dating back to the early 1980s. But this one's got the 2.3 white block. I think it's a 16 valve. I could be wrong. It's actually it might be an 8 valve. As long as it's not the 2-litre non-turbo, which are a bit slow. But yeah, that's nice and local complete to the area. TR was an old Portsmouth plate back in the day. So yes, a little bit of bonus stuff, and now we're going to go back to the main video. So there we go. That was last night at the time of recording, and 2 tasty videos for you. So now we're going to talk about a job that I did this week for a client. So I get a lot of repeat business actually. The lady I was doing a job for, she was one of the early jobs I did, which was sort of 2018 I last did a job for her. And the Subaru Forester that we found for her, an unusual car. I've never sourced a Subaru since. This was the first and only time I've ever done that. Has been quite a good car for her. It was a 2006, bought it in London from a lady who had it with family, I think from New or something. And it's 2006, I can't remember the exact specification, it was 2-litre automatic Forester. Obviously, which is now compliant because her previous car wasn't. Thank you, Mayor of London. And you know, she'd done something like 70 to 80,000 miles on it over the course of 6 years, which is, you know, a fair bit really. But at 150,000 miles, the Subaru needed changing. It needed quite a lot of work for the next MOT, and we both agreed, actually, and having spoken to our garage about it, that it wasn't worth putting it, fixing it to put it through. It was about £2,000 worth of work, and you only paid, I think, £3,400 for the car back in 2018, which, in the context of now, seems like absolutely nothing. But that's what it was like back in the day. So yeah, there we go. That was what she needed to change. So I looked around. I mean, we're doing a search in London again. I don't particularly like driving in London that much, but that's where I started doing most of my jobs when I started operating in my job in 2017. So if I get repeat bits, generally it comes from London. So off I went and made myself a little itinerary. 2 Honda CR-Vs and a Volkswagen Tiguan. I'll deal with the Tiguan first because that's most straightforward. It was a 2009 Tiguan. I think it's advertised at about £5,000. That's about the budget I'd been sort of given. And it was fine. It drove okay. There was some sort of clunking suspension, but clutch, gears, that sort of thing were fine. The service history was not very good. I can't remember if I even advertised any, but there wasn't any. And I was thinking, because those engines, 1.4 TSIs on the Volkswagens, are known for, sludging up, coking up. It's like, well, if that car's not being looked after properly, that might be a problem. And the sort of knocking suspension was just, there was something going on there, and it had 5 owners or something. So that one I discarded quite quickly. Although they're not bad cars, I've rather driven a couple of them now, and they're all right. But I was more interested in the Honda CR-Vs. This is a Mark II, Mark IIIs, both 2012, both 2-litre manual petrols. One was an SE something, I can't remember, SE Tech or something, I can't remember exactly what it was called, but quite a late for a Mark III, both of those. And the other one was an EST, which was a very, very nice specification, actually, again towards the end of production for the Mark IIIs in Swindon. So I looked at the SE Tech or whatever it's called first. I can't remember the other part of the trim level, and that looked fine. It was actually slightly cheaper than the other one, and the mileage was a little bit lower. The SE Tech or whatever it is had done about 73, whereas the EST had done 78,000 miles, and they were priced at about £300 of each other. One was a private sale, which was the EST. So it was 4,800. The other one was at a trader, that was 4,500. So I wonder why, actually, because for a trade sale on a CR-V like that, even though it's a manual and automatics in London, automatically you add 50%. That's just what happened. And I convinced my client that if she could go for a manual, she'd save a lot of money, which she did. So I looked at the first one, and actually it looked all right. The MOT was fine. Service history was quite good, but I knew from having looked at the MOT history of the EST model that it had rust on the subframe previously, and I thought, chances are, if this one has had problems with the front subframe rust, the other one has as well. And sure enough, I got under the car and looked at the front subframe on this SE Tech or whatever it was model, and it was like the videos that you see of these ships that have been underwater for some time. There wasn't an awful lot left of the subframe, and I thought, how on earth someone has put that through an MOT without an advisory for that for corrosion, I don't know. So I decided that we wouldn't buy that one, even though it was cheaper, the mileage was lower. Obviously the specification was slightly different, but I decided we wouldn't get that. The other one, I'd seen that it had an MOT in January where it had an advisory for the front subframe, but there was another MOT which had been done this month where the advisory wasn't there. And I was thinking, what's going on here? It's a bit strange, you'd have an MOT within 6 months. But I found out the reason for it. So when I got there, I looked right underneath the car at the front again, and the subframe had been completely treated. It had been treated with some very thick black sort of schuts or something like that. And I was thinking that's gonna last quite a while. Actually, that should be fine. And actually, this car, private seller, apparently his lady wife didn't really want a manual car. She wanted an automatic, like most people in London seem to these days, which is why the price of automatic cars so high. And she had this car sort of thrust upon her by him, and he tried to get away with it, thinking that, you know, she'll be all right. No, she'll be fine. So she's a fairly new driver. She'd only passed a test in November, I think, driven a Yaris or something like that. And of course, an old 2-litre 6-speed manual CRV is not the same as driving a little Yaris at all. And she didn't get on with it really. So I drove it and it was fine. I was a little bit squeaky clutch in it occasionally, but I don't think that's a massive problem. And I managed to get a little bit of a discount, paid $46.50 rather than $48.00 for it, but it was just by far the better car. Better service history, better specification, ice cold, dual zone climate control, cruise control, front and rear parking sensors, just everything. You know, a little bit of sort of minor kind of stone chips on the front of it, but apart from that, again, shows the paint's original. It was all right. So you can still buy bargains out there, even in London. Obviously, getting a manual is going to help you in that respect. But sometimes, if something is cheaper, it doesn't necessarily mean it's better. You have to kind of look at the things on an individual basis and assess things on their merit, just whether you decide, you know, I'm definitely just not even going to look at the more expensive one. Yeah, I wasn't told about the front subframe before I arrived. Like, you know, traders often don't tell you. You have to go and find out, and, you know, that's unfortunately why I have a job, because I'm paid to be very cautious in that way. Sometimes a bit of a pain, which probably isn't a bad thing. So that's it really. I mean, if you watch Chop's Garage, you'll kind of find that actually he'll talk quite a lot about when people see cars. An Auto Trader, I was looking at an Auto Trader, that if they see that the car is like a good price or a great price or whatever, they'll automatically assume that it's better than one that's a little bit more expensive, which looks similar. But when you get there, obviously his cars generally are pretty good from what I can understand. And this is just an example of what he would say, that actually you have to take each one its own merits and just don't discount things. Because if you don't need to treat or replace a subframe, and you're going to save yourself a lot of money, for example. Anyway, that's quite enough about that. Thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video in the comment below, and we shall see you again soon for some more surprisingly relevant consumer advice.